Stop scrolling. Look at your screen right now. I'm about to show you 4 treasures, not random symbols of wealth. 4 strategic paths to riches that Machiavelli observed in Renaissance Italy, where fortunes were made and lost in days, and the difference between luxury and poverty was one strategic decision. Each treasure represents a different wealth strategy, a different method of acquiring riches, a different philosophy about how money flows to power, or power flows to money. Treasure 1. The golden throne. Treasure 2. The silver blade. Treasure 3. The diamond ring. Treasure 4. The hidden vault. Choose one treasure, right now. Don't pick what sounds most moral or impressive. Your instinct is revealing your natural wealth philosophy, how you believe riches are actually acquired, how you think luxury flows to those who possess it. Comment your choice. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do it before I reveal what it means, because what I'm about to decode will expose whether you're on the path to genuine wealth or just working hard while others extract value from your labor. I'll also discuss how each other contradicts. You'll be surprised later in the video. In 1469, Lorenzo de' Medici inherited control of the Medici Bank at age 20. The bank his grandfather Cosimo had built into the largest financial institution in Europe. Lorenzo was surrounded by wealth, literally swimming in gold. The Medici fortune was estimated at 200,000 florins, equivalent to tens of millions of dollars today. 23 years later, in 1492, Lorenzo died. The Medici Bank was collapsing. The fortune was nearly depleted. His son Piero inherited debt and political vulnerability instead of riches. What happened? Lorenzo chose the wrong wealth strategy. He believed wealth came from the golden throne, so he spent the Medici fortune on art, festivals, political influence, and spectacular displays of power. He commissioned Botticelli and Michelangelo. He hosted the Platonic Academy. He built libraries and palaces. He gave loans to kings and popes that were never repaid because political influence mattered more than profit. But his grandfather Cosimo had used the hidden vault strategy. Machiavelli watched this happen in real time. He served Florence during the transition from Medici wealth to Medici bankruptcy, and he realized something that he coded into the prince, but never stated explicitly. Your wealth strategy determines whether you die rich or die poor. Not your work ethic, not your intelligence, not your skills. Your philosophy about how wealth flows. That's what determines your financial outcome. 4 wealth strategies. 4 paths to riches. 4 completely different philosophies about money, power, and luxury. Machiavelli documented all 4 throughout The Prince, hidden in chapters about military conquest and political alliances, disguised as advice about maintaining principalities. But the wealth philosophy is there, embedded in every case study, visible in every example of rulers who kept their riches versus rulers who lost everything. Today, I'm decoding his wealth system. Comment your treasure choice now, because once you understand which wealth philosophy you instinctively follow, you'll see why money keeps escaping you, or why it flows to you effortlessly while others struggle. Before I reveal to you what the symbols mean, let me take you to Rome, year 1492. Rodrigo Borgia wanted to become pope. The papacy was the most powerful position in Europe, spiritual authority over millions, political control over the papal states, command over armies and treasuries. But Rodrigo wasn't the favorite candidate. The College of Cardinals was divided. Several other candidates had stronger claims, better reputations, and more political support. Rodrigo had one advantage: wealth, and he understood wealth strategy better than any other candidate. The night before the papal conclave, Rodrigo visited every cardinal individually. He offered each one something they wanted. To some, money, direct payments of gold. To others, positions, bishoprics for relatives, administrative posts for allies. To others still, promises, future favors, political support, protection. By the time the cardinals voted the next morning, Rodrigo Borgia had secured the papacy. He became Pope Alexander VI through the silver blade strategy, taking what he wanted by forcing the outcome with concentrated wealth deployed as a weapon. Most observers called it bribery. Machiavelli called it understanding how power actually works. Rodrigo chose correctly. Within years, he'd recovered every florin spent on his election and multiplied his wealth 10 times through control of church revenues, sale of indulgences, and strategic marriages of his children into wealthy families. But his rival, Cardinal Giuliano della Rovere, used a different strategy. Giuliano spent years building relationships with powerful families. He married his niece to the Duke of Urbino. He cultivated alliances with Spanish and French nobility. When Giuliano finally became Pope Julius II in 1503, his wealth didn't come from church revenues alone. It came from his family networks, his political alliances, his strategic relationships with every major financial power in Europe. Meanwhile, Cosimo de' Medici had built his fortune through the hidden vault strategy. Machiavelli studied all 4 strategies throughout his career, and he realized that most people never get rich because they don't choose a strategy. They just work harder within whatever system they're already in. All 4 strategies can work, but they require completely different actions. And choosing the wrong strategy for your situation means you'll work hard forever while wealth flows to people using the right strategy. You chose your treasure at the start of this video. That choice revealed your instinctive wealth philosophy. Now let me decode what each represents and which one actually leads to the riches you want. We'll analyze each treasure, each wealth path, each philosophy about money, each strategic requirement. Because understanding all 4 wealth strategies means you can identify which path you're actually on and whether it leads to luxury or just exhaustion. Let's begin. Treasure 1. The Golden Throne. If you chose the Golden Throne, you believe wealth flows from institutional authority. You think, get the position, earn the title, achieve the rank, and money follows automatically. This isn't wrong. It's one of 4 valid strategies. You acquire wealth through position, titles, and institutional authority that generates automatic income. Your instinct is to climb hierarchies, to earn credentials, to acquire formal authority that comes with automatic compensation. This is the wealth philosophy of professionals, executives, anyone who believes the path to riches is education, credentials, position, salary, wealth. Machiavelli wrote about Golden Throne strategy in Chapter 9 of The Prince, discussing civil principalities, positions acquired through institutional processes. A private citizen becomes a prince by favor either of the people or of the nobles, according to the opportunity. Translation: you can achieve wealthy positions through institutional climbing, but wealth depends on maintaining the position. Lose the throne, lose the income. Pope Leo XI, Giovanni de' Medici, exemplified the Golden Throne strategy. Giovanni became pope in 1513 at age 37. The moment he took the papal throne, he controlled vast revenues. The church collected tithes from across Europe, sold indulgences, administered massive estates. Giovanni's annual income as pope was estimated at 500,000 ducats, more than any king in Europe except possibly the Holy Roman Emperor. And Giovanni famously said upon his election, "God has given us the papacy, let us enjoy it." Golden throne philosophy. The position generates wealth. Use the wealth to enjoy luxury while you hold the position. For 8 years, Giovanni lived in spectacular luxury. He commissioned Raphael to decorate the Vatican. He hosted elaborate banquets. He patronized artists and musicians. He lived like the wealthiest man in Europe, because he was, while he held the throne. But when Giovanni died in 1521, he left the papacy nearly bankrupt. He'd spent every ducat the position generated. His family inherited nothing because all the wealth was positional, not accumulated. Golden throne weakness. Positional wealth evaporates when you lose the position. In modern terms, you're the executive earning $500,000 per year, who spends $500,000 per year on lifestyle that matches the position. The doctor with high income and equally high expenses maintaining professional image. The lawyer who earns impressive money but accumulates nothing because positional wealth gets spent on positional requirements. You maintain lifestyle through income. As long as you hold the position, you live well. Your strength is legitimate high income. Golden throne strategists can earn more per year than any other wealth strategy, while they hold the position. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in golden throne wealth. Income without accumulation equals poverty the moment you lose the position. Thomas Wolsey, Cardinal and Lord Chancellor of England under Henry VIII, earned over £50,000 per year. He lived in palaces. He employed hundreds of servants. He ate from gold plates. Pure golden throne strategy. The position generated massive wealth. Wolsey lived accordingly. But in 1529, Henry turned against him for failing to secure the king's divorce. Wolsey was stripped of his positions, his properties, his income. Within months, he died penniless and disgraced. A man who'd earned millions over his career died owning nothing because he'd spent positional wealth on positional luxury without accumulating independent wealth. Golden throne without accumulation equals eventual poverty. If you are a golden throne strategist, your survival depends on converting positional income into accumulated wealth. Don't just earn a high salary. Use that salary to build assets that generate income independently of your position. The most dangerous golden throne strategists are the ones who live below their positional income and invest the difference into hidden vault infrastructure, so that when they lose the throne, they own systems that continue generating money. Machiavelli's advice for positional wealth appears in Chapter 9. But he who reaches sovereignty by popular favor finds himself alone, and has none around him, or few, who are not prepared to obey him. Translation. Positional authority generates wealth, but it also generates dependence. Build independent wealth while you hold the position, or you'll have nothing when it ends. Income is not wealth. Accumulated assets are wealth. If you chose treasure one, if you instinctively gravitated toward believing wealth comes from position, from titles, from institutional authority, then comment below. I choose the golden throne. Claim your treasure. Because understanding that you pursue positional wealth means you can start accumulating assets before the position ends. Treasure 2. The silver blade. If you chose the silver blade, you believe wealth flows from taking it. You acquire wealth through taking it, conquering markets, eliminating competition, and forcing payment. You think, identify who has money, take their market share, eliminate their competitive advantage, force them to pay you, and wealth follows. This isn't immoral. It's one of 4 valid strategies. Your instinct is to conquer, to dominate markets, to extract wealth from those who currently possess it through superior force, better strategy, or more aggressive tactics. This is the wealth philosophy of entrepreneurs, conquerors, and disruptors. Anyone who believes wealth is a zero-sum game, where you get rich by making someone else poorer. Machiavelli wrote extensively about silver blade strategy throughout The Prince, particularly in chapters about military conquest and territorial acquisition. In Chapter 3, the Romans, in the countries which they annexed, observed closely these measures. They sent colonies and maintained friendly relations with the minor powers, without increasing their strength. They kept down the greater, and did not allow any strong foreign powers to gain authority. Translation: take wealth through strategic conquest, dominate markets, extract resources, prevent competitors from growing strong enough to resist. Francesco Sforza exemplified silver blade strategy. Sforza was born a mercenary commander's son. No inheritance, no position, no institutional authority. But he had an army, and he understood that armies can take wealth directly. Throughout the 1440s, Sforza fought as a condottiero, a mercenary commander who rented his military services to the highest bidder. Milan, Venice, Florence. Whoever paid. Every campaign generated loot. Every victory generated ransoms. Every contract generated payment. Silver blade wealth. Take it through superior force. In 1450, Milan's government collapsed. The Ambrosian Republic couldn't maintain order. The city descended into chaos. Sforza laid siege to Milan with his army. He starved the city. And when Milan surrendered, he didn't negotiate for payment. He took the entire duchy, became duke, seized the treasury, took control of Milanese revenues, extracted wealth from the entire region. Silver blade at its peak. Use force to take the wealth directly. For 16 years, Sforza ruled Milan and died wealthy. Not through position, he wasn't born duke. Not through relationships. He'd fought against most of his neighbors at some point. Through conquest and extraction. In modern terms, you're the entrepreneur who enters markets to destroy incumbents and take their customers. The executive who builds companies through aggressive acquisition. The investor who buys distressed assets and extracts value. The competitor who sees business as warfare where you win by making others lose. You acquire wealth through dominance. As long as you can outcompete, outmaneuver, or outforce others, you extract their wealth. Your strength is direct value capture. Silver blade strategists don't wait for wealth to flow. They take it from those who have it. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in silver blade wealth. Conquest creates enemies, and eventually, enemies unite against the conqueror. Francesco Sforza conquered Milan and ruled successfully for 16 years. His son Galeazzo Maria Sforza inherited through silver blade legacy. But Galeazzo was assassinated in 1476 by a conspiracy of nobles who hated being dominated. His son Gian Galeazzo was too young to rule effectively. By 1499, King Louis XIV of France invaded Milan, and the Sforza dynasty fell. Why? Because 3 generations of silver blade strategy had created so many enemies that the moment the Sforza showed weakness, everyone united to destroy them. Silver blade wealth without defensive alliances equals eventual violent loss. Cesare Borgia made the same mistake. He conquered the Romagna through military force and political elimination. He extracted wealth from every city he took. Pure silver blade. Take wealth through conquest. But when his father died and Borgia lost his base of power, every enemy he'd made turned on him simultaneously. Within months, he lost everything he'd taken. Conquest without consolidation equals temporary wealth. If you are a silver blade strategist, your survival depends on converting conquest into legitimacy. Don't just take wealth, build institutional authority that makes the taking seem legal, proper, necessary. The most dangerous silver blade strategists are the ones who conquer markets aggressively, then immediately establish golden throne legitimacy so that their dominance becomes accepted institutional reality. Machiavelli's advice for conquest wealth appears in Chapter 3. Men must be either pampered or crushed, because they can get revenge for small injuries, but not for grievous ones. So any harm you do to a man must be the kind that removes any fear of revenge. Translation: if you're going to take wealth through conquest, take it completely. Partial conquest creates enemies who will take it back. Total conquest creates submission. Silver blade with complete execution. Don't wound competitors, eliminate them entirely, or don't attack at all. If you chose treasure too, if you instinctively gravitated toward believing wealth comes from taking it, from conquest, from dominating markets and extracting value, then comment below. I choose the silver blade. Claim your treasure. Because understanding that you pursue conquest wealth means you can build legitimacy before your enemies unite to take everything back. Treasure 3. The diamond ring. If you chose the diamond ring, you believe wealth flows from strategic relationships. You acquire wealth through marriage, alliance, and strategic relationships with those who already have money. You think, marry wealth, partner with wealth. Align with those who have money, and wealth flows to you through the connection. This isn't parasitism. It's one of 4 valid strategies. Your instinct is to build relationships with those who already possess what you want. To marry into wealthy families. To partner with established players. To position yourself as valuable to those who control resources. This is the wealth philosophy of courtiers, diplomats, and strategic connectors. Anyone who believes wealth flows through relationships rather than position, conquest, or systems. Machiavelli wrote about diamond ring strategy in Chapter 19 of The Prince, discussing how rulers maintain power through strategic marriages and alliances. When a prince has the goodwill of the people, he must not worry about conspiracies. But when they are hostile to him and hold him in hatred, he ought to fear everything and everybody. Translation: wealth through alliance requires maintaining the relationship. The moment the alliance ends, the wealth flow stops. Isabella d'Este exemplified diamond ring strategy. Isabella was born into the Este family of Ferrara, wealthy but not the wealthiest. She could have pursued golden throne strategy, seeking positions, or silver blade strategy, trying to conquer. Instead, she chose the diamond ring. At age 16, she married Francesco Gonzaga, Marquis of Mantua. The marriage connected her to one of Italy's most powerful military families. But Isabella didn't just marry wealth. She strategically cultivated relationships with every major power in Italy. She corresponded with popes, kings, artists, merchants, and bankers. She became the connector everyone needed. When Cesare Borgia conquered the Romagna and threatened Mantua, Isabella negotiated directly with him, using their mutual contacts and her diplomatic reputation. When French forces invaded Italy, Isabella maintained relationships with both French kings and Italian princes, making herself valuable to all sides. Diamond ring strategy. Wealth and security through relationships with those who have power. Isabella died in 1539, having preserved Mantua's independence and wealth through pure diplomatic alliance strategy. No conquests, no institutional positions. Just strategic relationships maintained for 50 years. In modern terms, you're the person who marries into wealthy families, the executive who gets hired through connections rather than credentials. The entrepreneur who builds businesses through partnerships with established players. The investor who gets access to deals through relationships with those already in the network. You acquire wealth through connection. As long as you maintain valuable relationships with those who have money, wealth flows to you. Your strength is risk minimization. Diamond ring strategists don't have to build from zero. They access existing wealth structures through strategic positioning. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in diamond ring wealth. Relationship dependence means you have no wealth if the relationship ends. Caterina Sforza married into the Riario family, the nephews of Pope Sixtus IV. The marriage gave her access to massive wealth and political power. Pure diamond ring strategy. Wealth through marital alliance. For years, it worked. Caterina lived in luxury, controlled territories, commanded respect throughout Italy. But in 1488, her husband, Girolamo Riario, was assassinated. The relationship that generated her wealth ended violently. Caterina fought to maintain her position independently, but within years, Cesare Borgia conquered her territories, and she died in relative poverty. Diamond ring without independent power equals vulnerability to relationship termination. Even Isabella d'Este, the most successful diamond ring strategist in Renaissance Italy, spent her entire life maintaining relationships. The moment she stopped being valuable to powerful people, her wealth and security would evaporate. It worked for Isabella because she maintained those relationships until her death. But it's exhausting, and it's fragile. If you are a diamond ring strategist, your survival depends on converting relationship access into independent assets. Don't just access wealth through relationships. Use that access to build your own wealth-generating capacity. The most dangerous diamond ring strategists are the ones who use marital or alliance wealth to acquire hidden vault infrastructure, so that when relationships end, they own systems that generate money independently. Machiavelli's advice for alliance wealth appears in Chapter 21. A prince ought also to show himself a patron of ability, and to honor the proficient in every art. Translation: build relationships by being genuinely valuable. Don't just access wealth through connection. Provide value that makes the wealthy want to maintain connection with you. Relationships without reciprocal value are temporary. If you chose Treasure 3, if you instinctively gravitated toward believing wealth comes from strategic relationships, from marriage, from alliances with those who already have money, then comment below, I choose the diamond ring. Claim your treasure. Because understanding that you pursue alliance wealth means you can build independent assets before relationships inevitably change. Treasure 4. The hidden vault. If you chose the hidden vault, you believe wealth flows from controlling infrastructure. You acquire wealth through control of systems, infrastructure, and the invisible mechanisms that generate money for everyone else. You think, own the systems that generate money for everyone else. Collect fees on every transaction, control the mechanisms, and wealth flows automatically without anyone realizing you're extracting it. This isn't exploitation. It's one of 4 valid strategies, and it's the most powerful. Your instinct is to identify infrastructure, banking systems, trade routes, technology platforms, currency mechanisms, any system where value flows through controlled channels. Then you own those channels. You don't take wealth directly like Silver Blade. You don't earn it through positions like the Golden Throne. You don't access it through relationships like Diamond Ring. You extract a percentage of every transaction that flows through your system. And because everyone needs the system, they pay willingly without realizing how much is being extracted. This is the wealth philosophy of bankers, platform owners, and infrastructure controllers. Anyone who understands that the richest people aren't those who work for money, they're those who own the systems that move money. Machiavelli understood the hidden vault strategy, but rarely wrote about it explicitly, because revealing the system reduces its effectiveness. But in Chapter 10, discussing how princes should organize their states, a prince ought to have no other aim or thought, nor select anything else for his study than war and its rules and discipline, for this is the sole art that belongs to him who rules. Read between the lines. Machiavelli isn't just talking about military infrastructure. He's talking about control of the systems that sustain power, including financial systems. Cosimo de' Medici exemplified hidden vault strategy at its highest level. Cosimo never held official political positions. He was never duke, never gonfaloniere, never held formal authority in Florence. But he controlled the banking infrastructure that Florence and most of Europe depended on. The Medici Bank had branches in Rome, Venice, Milan, Bruges, London, Lyon, and Avignon. Every major financial transaction in Europe passed through Medici systems at some point. Popes borrowed from Medici banks to finance church operations. Kings borrowed from Medici banks to finance wars. Merchants used Medici banks for international currency exchange. Every transaction generated fees, interest payments, commission charges, exchange rate margins. And all of it flowed to Cosimo's hidden vault. By 1450, Cosimo was the wealthiest private citizen in Europe, without holding any formal position, without conquering any territory, without marrying into wealth. Pure hidden vault strategy. Control the infrastructure, extract from every transaction, accumulate wealth invisibly. Cosimo died peacefully in 1464, one of the richest men in European history. His wealth wasn't positional. He held no throne. It wasn't conquest. He never commanded armies. It wasn't alliance, though he had many. It was systemic. He owned the financial infrastructure. Everyone else used that infrastructure, and every use generated wealth for the vault. In modern terms, you're the person who owns the payment processing systems, rather than the businesses that use them. The investor who owns the exchanges rather than the assets being exchanged. The entrepreneur who builds platforms that others build businesses on, and extracts platform fees from every transaction. You acquire wealth through infrastructure control. As long as you own the systems that others need, wealth flows automatically. Your strength is passive accumulation. Hidden vault strategists get rich while sleeping because their systems extract value 24/7 from every transaction flowing through controlled infrastructure. But here's the fatal flaw Machiavelli identified in hidden vault wealth. System control requires constant defense against those who want to build competing systems or seize your infrastructure. The Medici Bank remained dominant for 3 generations. But by the 1490s, other banking families had built competing systems. The Fuggers in Germany, the Strozzi in Florence, the Chigi in Rome. Market share eroded. The Medici lost monopoly control. Within decades, the bank collapsed because hidden vault only works if you maintain exclusive or dominant control of the infrastructure. Partial infrastructure control generates some wealth. Monopoly infrastructure control generates all the wealth, and maintaining monopoly requires constant defense against competitors trying to build alternative systems. In modern terms, think of how Uber dominated ride-sharing until Lyft built a competing platform, or how Facebook dominated social networking until TikTok built a different infrastructure. Hidden vault wealth is powerful, but only while you control the critical infrastructure that everyone needs. If you are a hidden vault strategist, your survival depends on building network effects that make your system irreplaceable. Don't just control infrastructure. Make that infrastructure so valuable that using competing systems becomes irrational for users. The most dangerous hidden vault strategists are the ones who build systems that become more valuable as more people use them, creating self-reinforcing monopolies that competitors can't break. Machiavelli's advice for system control appears in Chapter 20. Some princes, so as to hold securely the state, have disarmed their subjects. Others have kept their subject towns distracted by factions. Translation: control the systems that others depend on. Make yourself structurally necessary. Build infrastructure that can't be removed without collapsing everything. Hidden vault with network effects. That's the path to permanent wealth. If you chose Treasure 4, if you instinctively gravitated toward believing wealth comes from controlling systems, infrastructure, and the mechanisms that generate money for everyone else, then comment below, "I choose the hidden vault." Claim your treasure. Because understanding that you pursue system control means you can build network effects before competitors create alternative infrastructure. The wealth strategy reality. You now know your Machiavellian wealth philosophy: the golden throne, the silver blade, the diamond ring, the hidden vault. But here's what Machiavelli understood that separates the rich from the poor. Most people never choose a strategy. They just work harder within whatever system they're already in. You're in golden throne employment, working for positional salary, but you think you're building wealth. You're not. You're generating income that disappears the moment you lose the position. You're trying silver blade conquest, competing in markets, but you don't eliminate competition completely. So your competitors survive and take back market share the moment you show weakness. You're pursuing diamond ring relationships, networking with wealthy people, but you're not providing enough value for them to want to maintain the connection. So the relationships end and the wealth access evaporates. You're building hidden vault systems, trying to create passive income, but you're not achieving monopoly or network effects. So competitors fragment your market and reduce your extraction to minimal levels. Machiavelli watched every wealth strategy succeed and fail throughout Renaissance Italy. Golden Throne. Pope Leo II earned millions through position and died with the papacy bankrupt because he spent everything on maintaining luxury without accumulating assets. Silver Blade. Francesco Sforza conquered Milan and extracted wealth for 16 years. Then his descendants lost everything when enemies united against the family that had dominated them. Diamond Ring. Isabella d'Este maintained wealth through 50 years of strategic relationships, but spent her entire life managing those relationships, and the moment she died, her wealth structure depended entirely on whether her son maintained those connections. Hidden Vault. Cosimo de' Medici built the most powerful banking system in Europe and died the richest private citizen on the continent because he controlled infrastructure rather than just earning or taking wealth. 3 strategies generated temporary wealth. 1 strategy generated permanent wealth. If you chose the golden throne, your path is high income through position. Your weakness is income without accumulation. Your upgrade: convert salary to assets. Build wealth that survives losing the position. If you chose the silver blade, your path is wealth extraction through conquest. Your weakness is creating enemies who unite against you. Your upgrade: convert conquest to legitimacy. Make your dominance seem natural and proper. If you chose the diamond ring, your path is wealth access through relationships. Your weakness is dependence on connections that can end. Your upgrade: convert relationship access to independent assets. build your own systems while accessing theirs. If you chose the hidden vault, your path is wealth generation through system control. Your weakness is competitors building alternative infrastructure. Your upgrade, build network effects. Make your system irreplaceable through monopoly or dominance. But here's the secret Machiavelli never wrote explicitly. The richest people use all four strategies sequentially. Start with golden throne. Get the position that generates high income. Use that income to pursue silver blade. Take market share aggressively. Use the conquest to build diamond ring. Form strategic alliances with those you've dominated. Use the alliances to construct hidden vault. Build infrastructure that generates wealth automatically. 4 stages, 4 strategies, 1 complete wealth system. Pope Julius II did this perfectly. He started as a cardinal, golden throne income. He used church revenues to fund military campaigns, silver blade conquest. He formed alliances with France and Spain, diamond ring relationships. He used those alliances to restructure church finances into systems that generated automatic revenue, hidden vault infrastructure. By the time Julius died, he'd built one of the most powerful wealth structures in European history, using all 4 strategies in sequence. That's the difference between those who work hard and stay poor versus those who get genuinely, permanently, generationally rich. Strategy. Sequential strategy. Not just working within one system, but building through all 4 systems toward infrastructure control. The final challenge. Comment your treasure one more time. I choose the golden throne. I choose the silver blade. I choose the diamond ring. I choose the hidden vault. Claim your treasure. Because this isn't a personality quiz, this is a wealth philosophy diagnostic. Machiavelli watched rulers make and lose fortunes throughout Renaissance Italy. He documented which strategies led to permanent wealth and which led to temporary luxury followed by poverty. I'm decoding his wealth system to show you which path you're actually on, and whether it leads to the riches you want or just exhausting work that generates income for someone else's vault. Like and subscribe to this channel. Because in the next video, I'm revealing the sequential strategy Machiavelli identified. How to transition from golden throne to silver blade, to diamond ring, to hidden vault, without losing momentum at each stage. The career path that converts salary to conquest, to alliance to infrastructure. The wealth accumulation sequence that lets you start with nothing and end with systems that generate money while you sleep. The Medici method that took one family from wool merchants to the richest banking dynasty in Europe. By understanding which strategy to use at which stage of wealth building. Machiavelli didn't just study wealth, he mapped the exact sequence that transforms labor into luxury. And in the next video, I'll show you how to execute that sequence in modern terms. Until then, study your wealth strategy. Identify which stage you're actually at. And remember, in the game of wealth, most people work hard their entire lives while a few build systems that extract value from everyone else's hard work. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But it is best to own the systems that make both fear and love irrelevant. Because your wealth flows automatically, regardless of what anyone thinks of you. Choose your treasure wisely. I'll see you in the next revelation.